So Mark Cuban has defended Kawhi and Steve Ballmer every step of this investigation, but why? Dude came out day one and was like, I am on Team Ballmer. But as the evidence got worse that the Clippers paid Kawhi under the table to break NBA rules, Cuban got more stubborn. It's like he's getting paid under the table by the Clippers too. But after he and Pablo Torre's 1000th Twitter beef over this, Pablo said the quiet part out loud. Hey Mark, here's a question. Why are you doing this? You know, you have a million businesses, you're a really busy guy. Why are you spending hours to defend Steve Ballmer when no one else is? Well, Pablo can't say this, so I will. Did Mark Cuban give the exact kind of under-the-table deals to Dirk back in the day? Well, when you look back, there's suspicious details. It's insane. Or it could be another reason entirely, but even more shady than that. But first, does Cuban actually have a point? No, he doesn't. But I have to say, there is one thing in his argument that makes me go, And if any of you have an answer for this, please tell me. So here's Cuban's theory. Then we'll get to why he's defending Ballmer in the first place. But about 1 month until the NBA season starts, and until then, PrizePicks, the best place to win cash while watching sports, especially the NFL. And the best part, their app is so easy to use. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few players' stats. For example, this week I am going with Tony Pollard, more on his rush yards, and a college kid named Reggie Virgil, less on his receiving yards. And by the way, if you only like one of my picks, yes, I take that extremely personally, but they have a max discount this week. It is Patrick Mahomes. All he's got to do is pass for more than a half yard, and it's a lock. PrizePicks available in 45 states, including Texas and California. Plus, if you play just $5, you get $50 in lineups instantly, win or lose, with code AMHOOPS. That is play 5, get $50 in lineups instantly, code AMHOOPS. So from day one, Cuban said, I am Team Ballmer. And dude's got an answer for everything on why Ballmer's innocent. First, hey, Ballmer's not dumb enough to let Aspiration go bankrupt. Then the paper trail would get out and we'd all know he's guilty. Okay, I guess. But the big question mark, why pay Kawhi millions for a no-show deal? Well, Cuban's got an answer for that too. His theory is Aspiration paid $300 million over 23 years to be a Clippers sponsor. That deal is worth less if the Clippers suck. So keep Kawhi on the Clips to help your own sponsorship. And okay, that is flimsy at best. But what about this Dennis Wong payment? Ballmer's buddy suspiciously pays $2 million just in time for Kawhi to get about his $2 million payment. The timing alone is shocking. Unless you're Mark Cuban.
The fact that they went to Dennis Wong and raised $2 million and his daughter worked there, that's probably the connection. These guys were losing money hand over fist. And so lots of times I'll get emails or calls from people and they're saying, look, Mark, I'm getting ready to raise a lot of money, but I need a bridge loan to carry me over till this new money comes in. And to me, that's what happened with this Dennis Wong thing.
Wow, so is a pure coincidence. Just a bridge loan all set up by Dennis Wong's daughter who worked there. Like I said, an answer for everything. And that's BS. But the one thing that Cuban says that does give me a little pause is when he mocked Pablo Torre's timeline. So Cuban points out that Kawhi only got his first $3.5 million payment months after the first deal was struck, and only got paid again after Aspiration secured a new round of funding. Okay, but if the plan was to use Ballmer's $50 million to pay Kawhi, then why the late payments? The timeline makes no sense. Which is a solid point. But why is Cuban going so hard to defend this? Clips are obviously guilty. Well, a lot of people point to suspicious deals with Dirk Nowitzki. Maybe Cuban is defending Ballmer because he did this too. See, Dirk took as much as $194 million in discounts while on the Dallas Mavericks. And for the record, I am a huge Dirk fan. He's a badass, he's an assassin, he's a humble dude, and he's a winner. This is by no means a knock on Dirk. I love him as a player. But dude took 4 gigantic pay cuts while in Dallas. Most stars never take one, especially stars of his stature. This dude's like top 15, 20 all time. The first was in 2006. With 2 years left on his rookie extension, Dirk agreed to a new extension instead for 3 years, $59 million. But if he didn't take that deal, Dirk would have been eligible for 6 years, $158 million in 2008. Then on his next extension would have been 5 years, $239 million in 2014. Instead, he took 3 years, $25 million in 2014. What? And other teams are offering him the max at the time. That offseason, both the Rockets and Lakers called Dirk with the max, and he said no. Houston had prime Dwight Howard with James Harden, young Chandler Parsons. So they had money and a contender. Kinda weird. Then he signed 2 more short, cheap deals to end his career. So, those 2 max contracts he never signed totaled $446 million by the end of 2019. His actual earnings were $252, a full $194 million less than he could have made. Why? Well, it helped the Mavs to build a competitive team to sign other free agents around him. They were almost always a contender, and they won it all in 2011. It's because of Dirk's talent and discounts. But is it crazy to think Cuban might have sweetened the deal with under-the-table payments, or maybe a promise of a job after he retired? No! Cuban bent the rules all the time as an owner. So people ask, hey, would the NBA still penalize the Mavericks if they found out they circumvented the cap with Dirk Nowitzki? No! Cuban's not worried about that. The Mavs have new majority owners anyway. Punish them? No. Plus, nobody really questioned why Dirk left all that money on the table until now. So Cuban speaking out like this would actually be hurting himself. The real reason is more likely a lot more shady. Do you remember what Cuban said about Donald Sterling during all that controversy? The old Clippers owner was caught on tape hating on Magic Johnson because he's black, like the most blatantly racist kind of thing. And players were wearing shirts calling for Sterling to be banned, rightfully so. Cuban?
In this country, people are allowed to be morons. They're allowed to be stupid. They're allowed to think idiotic thoughts. But again, in terms of just saying a blanket, let's kick them out, I don't want to go that far because it's not about Donald, it's not about his position, it's about who's next.
It's about who's next. And Cuban thought, that could easily be me. Dude was known as like a bad boy NBA owner. He was always at war with the league. And if he ever got in trouble, he wanted the other owners to have his back. But now that he's not even a majority owner, who cares? Well, Steve Ballmer is a very powerful friend to have. Like, can you imagine the first moment that those guys have in private together? Dude, Ballmer is going to give him the biggest hug of all time. Say, thank you for having my back in public for day one. You went so hard for me when nobody else would. I owe you. Exactly. We already know that Cuban is willing to take unpopular opinions like we saw with Donald Sterling, even if it hurts his public reputation, to have powerful friends and relationships. It helps him. He must have saw this Kawhi drama and immediately thought, never let a good crisis go to waste, which is actually smart in the most like shrewd billionaire slimy type of way. Oh, he would never do that. Why not? I used to think that Mark Cuban was like basketball guy first, then he sold the Mavericks. You never would have thought that. Why? Because Cuban knew it was the best time to sell from a business standpoint. Valuations in a bubble. So he chose dollars over the Mavs. Never thought that would have happened. He is a business guy to his core. So does he think Steve Ballmer is actually innocent? No, probably not. But he knows that the 9th richest person in the world is gonna owe him big time. And it didn't cost Mark Cuban a single dollar. Pretty good investment. But speaking of money on the table, Austin Reaves just turned down a $90 million extension with the Lakers to bet on himself. Good chance it pays off too, but should the Lakers pay his asking price? Because what if another team is gonna offer him like $35 million bucks? Is Austin Reaves worth that? So you have to ask, what are the chances that this is Reaves' final season in a Lakers uniform?